Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that because if I show too much curiosity, I feel like then you're going to think I'm a fool. What's your
Mm.
response or what's your insight on that?
Well, it is possible to ask really interesting questions. First of all, they should be open. Why, what, when, which, how, who.
Mm.
Questions starting with those words where the answer cannot be yes or no. If I simply say to you, oh, no, did you enjoy the podcast? Yes or no? Well, that doesn't give me much information. If I say to you, what are the three things you most enjoyed about that podcast? Now we're in a conversation
Right,
and you say something and I say, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Now we're engaged. I don't
right.
think you think I'm an idiot for asking those questions. I think you think I'm interested. And that's something to remember because most people love to talk about themselves.
Right.
Most people love that somebody's interested. Oh, hello. Somebody's interested in me. That's nice. Yes, by all means, I'll answer your questions. So I think it depends on what the questions are and what they're about. I mean, we can all ask stupid questions sometimes when we're not thinking or whatever. But I think if you design questions like, what if I met somebody for the first time and hello, what do you do? And oh, so what's the best thing about doing that? That's a really good. I love that question
Right.
because it makes people think, and it's a qualitative question, and it gets you into talking about something. They might say something really amazing, like I don't know, they let me have my dog in the office. Ah, you're into dogs? How nice! What is it? Who knows where it might go, but it's going to be more interesting than the next question being, oh, where's your office?
Right.
Or where do you live? Or I mean, those are low level questions. There are lots of higher level questions that I would encourage anybody listening to this to think about. Just think about questions that you would find interesting for somebody to ask you, and then have a little store of them. You will not appear stupid. And I think questions, I talk about it in that RASA acronym that I used in the listening talk, which is receive, appreciate, summarize, ask, which is four pillars of really interesting conversation generally. Receive being pay attention.
Hmm.
That is to say, looking at the person who's talking and actually being in the conversation, commitment, being present, not
Right.
doing anything else. Appreciate is little noises that like you're just doing, right? Yep. Uh-huh. And if we're actually physically face to face, there would be little bobs of the head and nods and raised eyebrows and whatever,
Right.
so that's appreciate. That's just showing that you're there and you're still listening. Summarize is the word so, and that's a really powerful word. I always talk about it as closing doors in the corridor of a conversation behind you. So, you're walking down a corridor of a conversation with somebody and you say, so what I understand you've said is this. Is that right? Yeah. Door closed. Now we move on because we kind of locked that bit down. And in meetings, it's very important to have a so person. So we've agreed this. Can we move on to that now?
Can we move on? I
If you don't
love
have a
that.
so person in the meeting, round and round and round and round in circles, they say about meetings, they're places where you take minutes and waste hours. And that's
Mm.
very often the case. And the last day, which is why I mentioned this, is asking questions all the way through from the beginning to the end and afterwards. What particularly interested me about what you just said is this. Can you explain some more about that? That kind of question, just showing interest and being engaged,
Right.
it creates relationship, not derision, not people thinking you're stupid, in my opinion.